Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start with Colin Kaepernick. It's funny to listen to everyone question the NFL's motives as it relates to Colin Kaepernick and his Saturday workout. Eagles safety Malcolm Jenkins is skeptical, saying he has his doubts about the league and he'd be naive not to be leery. Panthers safety Eric Reed said the workout feels like a publicity stunt. This all strikes me as humorous because that's exactly how I felt about Kaepernick's transition from shirtless, tatted, Beats by Dre party boy to Muhammad Ali. I've been skeptical from day one, the whole thing, from Kaepernick to Reed to Kenny Stills, the whole thing has felt like a publicity stunt for football players who want to work out their identity issues on a public stage. The injustice motivating Kaepernick's behavior was Jim Harbaugh's decision to go back to college football. That decision wrecked Kaepernick's football career and sparked his silent social activism. Defenders of the silent symbol argue that Cap's motives are both beyond reproach and irrelevant. We must all credit Cap for starting a conversation about police brutality and racial injustice, topics that had never before been discussed in American history. Well, I contend the NFL's motives are irrelevant too. Let's say it is a publicity stunt. How does the publicity harm the symbol formerly known as Colin Kaepernick? 2 days ago, Colin Kaepernick's NFL career was a dead issue. NFL television ratings have rebounded this year. Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson are the leaders of the league's MVP race. A half dozen backup quarterbacks from Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, Teddy Bridgewater, Kyle Allen, Matt Moore, and Mason Rudolph have all performed admirably. Well, hell, Jay-Z said before the season that we'd moved past kneeling. Cap was dead. Now he's back. I'd love to hear the Kaepernicks explain how this Saturday workout has damaged their hero. These guys whine just to hear themselves whine. We're supposed to shed tears because Cap doesn't know the names of the scouts and or coaches who will attend the workout? If Tom Landry's corpse is in Atlanta, that beats the random guy who sees Cap at 24 Hour Fitness during his alleged 5-day-a-week, 5 a.m. workouts. Oh, but Cap only was given 2 hours to agree to the workout. How long does a jobless man need to decide whether to show up at a job interview? But he hasn't been provided a script. He doesn't know who his receivers will be. So, Cap is not and never has been a precise thrower of the football. His throwing motion is more Dennis Oil Can Boyd than Dan Marino. No one cares. Cap needs to do 3 things to ace this workout. 1, avoid wearing a Fidel Castro t-shirt, pig socks, or any other polarizing clothing. 2, run a 40-yard dash in 4.7 or better. 3, say he will stand for the national anthem. Do those 3 things, and the Bengals or the Falcons will hire Baltimore offensive coordinator Greg Roman in the offseason, and Cap will be competing for a starting job in Cincinnati or Atlanta next season. Which of the 3 tasks is most important? I'd say the 40-yard dash. If Cap can't run, he has no value in the NFL. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst TJ Houshmandzadeh and Bleacher Report's Rick Bucher. LeVar, I will start with you. Should the NFL's motives matter to Colin Kaepernick?
If he's wise, they should. I truly believe going into the workout, he has to be aware of why you're not getting invited to personal workouts by the teams. I think that we talked about this.
Call me, I can answer that, but go ahead.
We talked about this on the show yesterday. It's interesting that Roger Goodell took the ownership over wanting to see this happen, facilitating this happening. Well, that separates the franchises from this situation. So now basically what you're saying is going into this with the National Football League, who is different, the NFL is different as a nonprofit to the for-profit franchises each. I think that you have to smell a rat here, and I think you have to be aware of it. And I think number 3 on your checklist, just making sure that if you're going to go do this, try not to have any content come out of your workout that would be damning to you and your cause, because I really, truly believe if a team really wanted him, they would have brought them in on their own. That's my take.
100% the motive should matter, but in reality, it doesn't matter. It's been 3 years. He hasn't played football since 2016. The questions I would ask is, who's running the workout? What receivers am I going to throw to? So it tells me it's nothing physically that they're looking to see. Because
they want to see if he can run.
He's going to be able to run. Now, 4.6, if he's been working out for 3 years every day, he's going to run a 4.6. So physically, him throwing a ball, that's not going to matter because, one, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who's catching balls for me. If I don't know I'm going to be inaccurate. Throws aren't going to be there. And so for me, he wants to.
Is that any different?
That makes a difference.
No. From previous Cap's always been accurate, but go ahead.
He took a team to, you can say what you want to say.
He's been inaccurate.
But he took a team to the Super Bowl.
That's a fact.
And when you do that, there's a place for him in the league. The motives, they should matter. But when you peel away the layers, it really doesn't matter. You have an opportunity, you need to show up, and I think you need to impress them from let's sit down and talk what I'm going to do moving forward, what you expect from me moving forward. And if he can do that, I believe everything should work out eventually.
We already know the motives. He should know the motives. If the NFL really wanted him back in the league, they're going to wait 3 years? What's changed over the 3 years other than he may not be the player that he was 3 years ago? Certainly the motives matter because the one last thing he has left is that he was blackballed by the NFL. This is the NFL's opportunity to erase that. No, you're not blackballed. You can come back and play. Look, we're going to set it up. We're going to set it up for the entire league. You guys know how competitive the league is. If there was a single team out there that thought that Colin Kaepernick could help them win games, they wouldn't be waiting for Roger Goodell to set up a workout. They would have gone out and tried to explore that already. They'd be looking to sign him. They wouldn't be doing this in the middle of the season where the decision makers aren't going to see this happen. So the one thing, this is why it matters. This is why he shouldn't even be participating in this.
He has to show up.
Why?
And I'll say,
wait a minute, but
you
why?
say what has changed in the 3 years. I'll give you a date, August 13th, 2019. You know what date that was? When Jay-Z formed a partnership with the NFL, I believe he's trying to help Kaepernick out behind the scenes. That's what has changed in 3 years.
I see it the other way. You want to get this out of the way so that when Jay-Z is involved in the Super Bowl as it is, this Colin Kaepernick question isn't hanging over Jay-Z
So
anymore.
you say don't show up. You just put a release out saying we've contacted all 32 teams, we're getting ignored. The only motive that concerns me, one, it's on a Saturday. Everybody's traveling. Normally, we all know this, Tuesdays are the days for workouts.
He's set up to fail.
Even if you wanted it to be
He is set up
Monday.
to fail. But that's why I don't think it's anything physical. He has to impress them with what he says. And it's not what he's going to do on the field. It's what he says when we meet face to face and I look you eye to eye. Can I trust that what you're telling me you're going to do?
And if he was doing that with the GMs or the decision makers, then I would say, okay, maybe I would go down that road. But ultimately, he's not. He's doing it with scouts. He's doing it with secondary people.
Again, there's a step in the process that has to go on here. Teams are a bit reluctant just to reach out to Cap. We got to put all the facts into our evaluation of this. The Baltimore Ravens reached out to Cap, and Cap's girlfriend set them on fire. Called Ray Lewis and the owner, slave owner, and, Django Unchained, whatever. So I don't blame NFL teams for saying, I'd like a little heat shield. I don't want to go through what Steve Bisciotti went through. The owner that's got the Lamar Jackson offense and all that, but he's getting called a racist. So the NFL's like, okay, we'll make it easy. We'll do it under our umbrella. No individual team gets singled out. If Cap shows something, one of these individual teams is going to reach back out after this process, after they've looked and tried to look around. Is Cap and Nessa going to set us on fire again if we entertain them in a conversation? This is a hurdle to get through. It's a hoop to jump through. Again, you guys are acting, and this is why I say motive doesn't matter. And it's a blue joke that, I tell all blue jokes or whatever, and it's about, again, if I'm with Holly Berry, I'm not questioning the motives. I don't care. about the motives. I really don't. I really don't care about the motives. And the NFL is Halle Berry. It's the hottest girl in sports. It's got all the money. It's where he wants to be. I don't care.
But if you were with Halle Berry and you messed up the relationship and now you don't have Halle Berry, and Halle Berry is now all of a sudden saying, well, I may be interested in taking Whit.
I don't care about the motives.
Well, that's fair. I mean, that's fair.
I don't.
That is fair. But again, I find that to be a hard pill to swallow in terms of the NFL looking at it the way that you just explained it. Like, oh, we're not going to go to Cap or his agent because we got burnt the first. Because there's too many talented players out there to say we're going to play with kitty gloves with Kaepernick. I mean, think about this, right? And this past season, this season going on right now, 16 teams have had different starters on their team, all right? None more important in this conversation than Matt Moore. Matt Moore was out for all of 2018. He's coaching high school ball, came in, he's a scout for another team.
And his highs were never as high as Colin Kaepernick's highs.
Chad Henne goes down, you call in Matt Moore. There's really no, if you're looking at it from the perspective that you gave,
hold on, did it work?
Yes, it did.
Do you think Colin Kaepernick can run Andy Reid's offense? To be honest, you'd have to change the offense. He can't run Andy Reid's offense.
If I'm being honest, why did they, if he were in the running and we needed to figure out who was going to run my offense the best out of those 16 teams, you're telling me we're going to take our time?
Andy Reid and Matt Moore.
Sure. If we're keeping it on Andy Reid, they never brought him in to find out.
Because they already know there's tape. This dude can't run Andy Reid's offense.
Okay.
Quit, don't lie to yourself.
But I think
don't lie to the people out here.
I think you're making the point.
It's funny. You don't know. You at least.
I don't know that he can't run Andy Reid's offense.
We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know that.
TJ, you played football. Cut it out.
You don't. Andy Reid's offense, from when he was in Philadelphia to what he's in now in Kansas City, has completely changed and evolved. He didn't run this same offense.
You want him throwing a Tyreek Hill.
You're not giving Colin nearly enough credit for what he did as a quarterback for the 49ers, taking them to the Ravens. You're acting as if it was just his feet that got him there, and that's not the case.
If he had to survive without his feet, and I'm not
saying he's going to survive without them.
I love Colin Kaepernick back then. Yeah. I didn't know Alex Smith then, and I used to champion Colin Kaepernick. I get it. But without his feet, that guy's not special.
But you're saying it's only his feet.
I'm not saying it's only his feet. He's a 59% passer for his career.
Whether it's only his feet or whether
it's
only his arm, none of these franchises are reaching out to set up this workout.
There's a process that's going into play here. After his workout, if he does a couple of these things on the list, all he got to do is run fast. He's going to get some calls. Greg Roman's going to get a job, and they're going to let Colin Kaepernick. To me, this is all a gimmick. This is all.
It's a ton of what ifs.
So you're saying it's disingenuous? Is no.
If there was interest in him, why would they be waiting until now? Until Roger Goodell
There's not a lot of interest in him. There's not. There's tepid interest.
So if he runs fast, suddenly somebody's going to turn the page and say, oh, wait a minute, we didn't know he could run fast.
There's a couple of teams that have some tepid, lukewarm interest based off of what they're seeing from Lamar Jackson.
Well, speaking of that.
And talking about for next year. And Colin Kaepernick is looking at Lamar Jackson and going, damn, I can do that. Trust me, that's why his boy Eric Reid's running his mouth. There's interest on both sides. I guarantee you from their little settlement, there was an agreement. We're going to get you a trial. We're going to get you back in the league. And I'm going to just tell you the other thing that I really think here. Yesterday, they came out with news that, and people aren't talking about it, that they're getting closer to a CBA and a 17-game schedule. I think NFL players are silly enough and have been gassed up enough about social media that getting Kaepernick back into the league is a small element of their CBA agreement. I think NFL players are silly enough to go for that. Social media gasses them up. And so I just don't think it's, to me, I connect the dots. Oh, Kaepernick, they got to work out. And then in the next breath, I hear on the others, and we're very close to a CBA agreement. To me, I think there's some connection. That Kaepernick's I think they're trying to walk him back into the league. He wants back into the league. But there's only a handful of teams that are interested, and they don't want to step out here, get called racist. Let's get this guy in a room. Let's see if he's moved past that. And then I think after this workout, you'll see a couple of teams reach out to Kaepernick, and we'll see.
I just think you put on your checklist of things he has to do on the Whitlock.
Yeah.
2 and 3 being don't wear certain items.
Yeah, don't wear Fidel Castro stuff. Don't be polarized.
3 being make sure you say that you're going to stand
that's
up
the
for.
advice I'd give him. But the only one that really matters is running.
That's very far off from the arguments that you're stating, though. If those are the arguments, that should have been in the Whitlock, because if we're basing
they were in the Whitlock, but go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, it wasn't on the checklist. It wasn't stated clearly on the checklist of things. That 2 and 3 on that checklist.
1 and 3, but go ahead.
Was it 1 and 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
3 being the most important. I thought 2 being the weird.
Go ahead.
Anyways, if those are the things that he has to profess that he's separating himself from.
Those are my suggestions.
To me, and I don't think that that's egregious to think that that's what is going on here. I think that he has to be aware that there could be a bigger play to show.
So we're sitting here as men. We're
Yep.
sitting here as men. There are certain things we're willing to say and do to get what we want.
Sure.
If this dude wants to play in the NFL, these aren't high hurdles to jump over. Don't wear a Fidel Castro t-shirt.
Do you understand? Do you understand how
you've told bigger
horribly
lies
bad
to get what you want? But go ahead.
horribly? No, I don't tell big lies. I just perform. If he does that, if he says those things, I will stand.
Yeah.
Then everything he's built his legend off of is gone. And to me, you got to pay attention.
It was all a house of cards in the first place. If the guy really believed it, he'd put his name on it and speak on it like everybody else that really believes
but
it.
Everybody else is supporting him. Those the Kaepernicks.
Yeah,
if it was just about how fast can he run and what's his demeanor going to be, you don't have to do anything else. Have him run and meet with him. Have interviews. Have every team interview him. You don't have to go through all of this. We're going to throw receivers. We're going to do all that. You wouldn't have to do that.
It's the optics.
But that's what they are doing. There's only 2 things that can come out of this workout, and both of them are bad and irretrievably damaging for Colin Kaepernick.
I don't disagree
One,
with that.
he demonstrates that he can't play in the league anymore, that he's not very good. And now everybody's going to say, see, you weren't blackballed. They're not going to look at it that it's 3 years later. They're going to look at it and say, see, there was a reason you weren't. Now, all the people that are saying
I don't think a workout can show that, but go make your second point.
Yeah.
And then the second part is that he does perform and he does come back to the league. And then all the people, and he agrees to the things that you said. And now all the people that supported him because he was being blackballed are like,
we're out.
It wasn't about anything other than
he's already crossed that bridge. Do you not remember the settlement?
No. I'm telling you, for you as a skeptic, you've always been there. There are still people out there that believe that Colin Kaepernick was about the right things and that he was
those
blackballed.
people believe in Santa Claus, and I'm sorry for breaking that to those of you that didn't know
There's
Santa
no
Claus.
Santa Claus?
There's no
What?
Santa Claus. Whitlock and LeVar Arrington, joined now by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings and longtime NFL player Will Blackman. Time now for a big story, sponsored by KFC. Come enjoy our new Kentucky Fried Wings in Buffalo, Honey Barbecue, and Nashville Hot.
Speaking of honey barbecue.
Let's move to Cleveland, where the Browns host the Steelers tonight on Thursday Night Football on Fox. According to Fox Bet, Cleveland is favored by 3, but the Steelers' defense has been on fire, getting a huge boost after acquiring safety Minkah Fitzpatrick from Miami back in Week 3. Since then, Pittsburgh is ranked 9th in points per game allowed, 7th in total defense, 1st in rush defense, and tied for 1st in defensive touchdowns. Will the Steelers' defense embarrass Baker Mayfield? Hell yes. This is about T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Devin Bush. Mike Tomlin's defense is on fire. I believe, not by stats, I believe by my eyes. I think this is the best defense in football. I think Baker Mayfield sees ghosts tonight.
I disagree. I don't think they'll embarrass him. I don't believe that they'll win the game. But
Cleveland won't, or?
Yeah, I don't believe that Cleveland will win the game. But I do believe that Baker Mayfield will have a respectable showing. I mean, I look at this team, and it's interesting. You know, right now, he's, as a starter in his 6 starts, he's won 4 out of those 6 games going against AFC North opponents. That's first things first. But the one thing that we have to keep in mind here is that this team is trying to find itself. And going into this game, he's only played one AFC opponent this year so far. and we'll find out what he can do in that North. But
blasted him.
And I mean, and that's against one of the hottest teams out here in the Baltimore Ravens. So he has the capabilities of playing a good enough game to win against the Steelers. I don't see them winning, even though they're at home, but I definitely don't see him getting embarrassed.
Yeah, I do have Cleveland win this game, and this is a situation where they're still trying to find their identity, and I think being at home plays a huge factor. And then this is also a second game having Kareem Hunt, which is also going to help, because right now Nick Chubb is doing very well, and he's able to find his receivers on the outside. I think I like the Browns for this game. I like them being favored by 3. I definitely do.
I actually picked the Browns to win this game tonight too. But in regards of the question, it's not even about Baker Mayfield being embarrassed. This is Freddie Kitchens. Like, when we look at teams and we look at offensive coordinators and play callers, let's just say play callers, we look at on their opponent. What Minkah Fitzpatrick has been able to do from going from Miami's system to where he is now in Pittsburgh, he's potentially a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Why?
Potentially.
Because his system and what these coaches are doing with the talent that they have. When you look at the Cleveland Browns, why Baker Mayfield and this offense has struggled is not because they don't have the talent.
They have the personnel.
They have the personnel.
Yeah.
It's the coaching in place. They're not being able to get the best out of these quality individuals. So this is not just about Baker Mayfield. I think he'll have a fair showing. I got them winning, like I said, against the Steelers.
Let me ask you a different question. Will the Steelers defense embarrass Freddie Kitchens?
No.
They have potential to do that.
They
have the potential to do that, but because I picked the Browns to win, I don't think.
Wait, imagine this. Imagine you've been driving an American-made car that's been automatic your whole life, and all of a sudden you go in your garage and you get this Italian sports car that's manual. You're like, how do I drive this thing? And that's kind of how I see it. Like, Freddie Kitchens does not have the background to handle this type of team right now. I mean, talent everywhere. Like, on paper, playing Madden, you want this team. But does he know how to handle, especially dealing with that type of adversity?
So I'm going to go back to my question again.
Is it going to embarrass?
No, because Freddie Kitchens is attached at the hip to Baker Mayfield. He got the job because of Baker Mayfield. He'll be the guy calling the plays for Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield starts having problems, he's going to come over to Freddie looking for help. If Freddie is that bad, I think there's a damn good chance Baker Mayfield gets embarrassed.
If Freddie's that bad, I still think Baker is good enough to overcome it.
He's good enough to overcome it because of a player that you mentioned that I actually mentioned yesterday, Kareem Hunt. He brings a lot more to this offense. I truly believe a guy like Baker Mayfield in his second year is missing that safety valve, which most young quarterbacks love to have.
Right. And it's usually a tight end. It's usually a tight end.
David Njoku.
Right.
And so now with a guy like Kareem Hunt coming out of the backfield, he'll have those easy dump passes to continue to sustain drives.
Nah, the Steelers' defense is going to neutralize that offense. I don't think this comes down to basing it off of purely what the Cleveland Browns offense will do, but I think to revisit the question, will Kitchens embarrass himself in this game?
He embarrassed himself.
It may be a situation.
I look at it like this. He's already embarrassed himself because of the lack of production and the lack of success this team has had. So if they were having the success that everybody thought that they were going to coming into the season, I think that this is an embarrassing moment because I don't think that they're going to have the type of success that maybe some that are picking them to win will have. But with that being said, I still find it interesting that this is the first year he's the head coach. This is only Baker's first year as a full-time starter of this team. And Jarvis is still new to the team, and now you've brought in Odell as a newcomer to the team, along with Hunt and different guys. We live in a fast food type of industry
I love
now.
fast food.
Well, it tastes good sometimes, but it just isn't good for you all the time, right? And I think that's what we're dealing with right now is we're basing this team, this coaching staff, this personnel off of hearing now. And they really haven't had an opportunity to mesh together. I saw some.
We heard the excuse.
I saw something.
I need that 20-piece nugget tonight. Okay.
It's very Super 6 tonight.
Yes, sir, there is. Before the Steelers and Browns kicks off tonight, be sure to download the Fox Sports Super 6-7 play for free for a chance to win Terry Bradshaw's 25 G's. All right, guys, so when our guys some money, who will win tonight? And give us a score.
Steelers 20-14.
I'm going Steelers 24-17.
24-17. I'm going to go Cleveland 24-10.
Ooh.
I'm going Cleveland 17-14.
All right, welcome back. Whitlock and LeVar Arrington. Rick Bucher is back with us. Time now for Creating a Legacy, where we're celebrating legacies in the making, sponsored by the new movie, Ford versus Ferrari. Let's move to James Harden, who just dropped 47 in a win over the Clippers and is making an early case for another MVP award, off to a prolific start, even by his own standards. Harden is on a historic scoring pace, averaging what would be the most points per game in the last 50 seasons, in some pretty exclusive company, just as he was last year. All right, the question here is James Harden the best player in the NBA? We'll start with you, Rick.
No. And I'm not even sure that he's the best scorer. He actually was on the floor last night with the best player in the game right now, and that's Kawhi Leonard, who can intimidate and control the game at both ends of the floor. James Harden doesn't come close to those. But we're also, because we're getting so excited about what is historic when it comes to James, if you start to parse the numbers and see how he's getting to that scoring average, he's leading the league by a long shot in three-point attempts. He's attempting 14 three-point attempts per game. The next guy is Kemba Walker, four less. And yet James is only shooting 31.8% from three-point range. Those are bad numbers. I want to say he's the best scorer in the league right now, and maybe he is by default, but it's certainly not an efficient way of operating. And if you skew everything where you're giving everything to one guy and he's either going to score or he's going to get the assist, then his numbers are going to look impressive. But when I look overall at what he's doing, I wish he'd spent less time shooting that wrong-footed one-off runner, three-point runner that we saw the tapes for. Oh, what are we going to do now? James is shooting off the wrong foot from three-point range. How are we going to stop that? He's not even shooting well squaring up.
I would be right there with you if they weren't winning, Rick. They're and they just beat a very good Clippers team.
A Clippers team that showed up and said, we're not taking you guys seriously. We can fall behind by 16 in the first quarter, and we can still come back and win this game. You guys aren't in our league. We've already demonstrated we're the best in the league. We're going to try to steal this one, and they nearly did. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in. By the way, last night's win by the Rockets, if you look at their record, that was the first quality win they've had. That's the first quality opponent that
LeVar, before you go, I want to frame it up for you.
Yep, sure.
Perhaps give you, and you can pass on this if it's no good. But what he's arguing is sometimes what you hear argued in football in terms of the weak side linebacker. Everybody's going to tie up their man so that guy can make all the tackles, and the whole system's geared around this one guy making the tackles. But the weak side linebacker, I still got to make the tackles.
Got to make the tackle.
I got to make the plays.
That is
and so
true.
I don't know if it's a legitimate knock.
I would say it. Only reason why I would agree with you is based on the percentage. That 31% is a tad bit damning, if you ask me, because
131st in the league.
That tends to say, you're going to win and lose based off of that. And if you're missing that many tackles as the weak side backer, it's probably going to be a really bad game for that defense. So I'm going to lean with AD. I'm going to stay right here in LA, and I like Anthony Davis. And there's only three guys that are averaging 26 points and 10 boards, rebounds on the glass. His supporting cast makes it for it to be the best recipe for him to be the most dominant, continue to be the most dominant in this game right now. He's always been looked at as a tweener. We used that word on the show yesterday, but you look at him, you say, all right, he has the ability to go outside, but he also is looked at as a big man, and he gets that that responsibility so much. But having JaVale McGee and having Dwight Howard playing the way that he's playing, you have that length and you have that size. You have true bigs, and then obviously you have LBJ on the court. I think it's very difficult to look at AD as not the most dominant player, which to me equates to being the best in the game right now.
I can't go there because I think based off the start of the Lakers season, LeBron's their best player, and the conversation about the best player, to me, probably gets down to LeBron, Giannis, and Kawhi. I will say this. If James Harden finishes the year averaging 38 points a game and they've won 50 games, it's going to be hard for me to see because the media does love historical events.
Sure.
It helped Russell Westbrook get his first MVP, triple-double, first time we've seen it in 30 years. And so if somebody, and I don't care how they do it, averages the most points since Wilt Chamberlain, that's going to sway some voters.
Well, this is where it gets tangled. And we went through this last year with the MVP race because we had Harden, who's just doing a little more than he did last year, but essentially a offensive threat, but arguably the most potent offensive threat, versus Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is operating at both ends, but isn't the same skilled offensive player that Harden is. But most valuable player to me is different than best player, best all-around player. When I look at what Kawhi Leonard is able to do, he's scared defensively. We need a lockdown.
LeBron's playing defense this year.
And I agree. And I would say if we're taking best player, that's why James Harden's not even necessarily in my top 2 or 3, because I would put LeBron there because he is playing at both ends. I'd still put Giannis in that conversation ahead of James.
Well, you know what's interesting about you guys talking about defense, since we're talking defense in basketball, guy that I just got dismissed on actually leads the league in blocks per game. He's at 2.9 per game. He does it on both ends. AD does it on both ends of the floor. So I don't think we should brush him off and say, okay, LeBron is the best. I think that it's a debate as to who's the best player on that team, which means in a lot of conversations, you got to respect AD in this conversation.
I would, I think talent-wise, AD is in the conversation.
Whitlock and LeVar Arrington, TJ Houshmandzadeh, and Will Blackman are back with us. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. All right, take it away, homeboy.
Yes, sir. Let's return to Colin Kaepernick, who's gearing up for his big NFL workout this weekend. Not surprisingly, his best friend Eric Reid has had a lot to say about it. Yesterday, Reid compared Kaepernick to one of this year's MVP candidates, saying, quote, he has a rocket for an arm. He's tall, 6'4", so he can see over the pocket, and he's mobile. He's Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson, and he can still throw the ball. Gotta ask you guys, do you like Reid comparing Cap to Lamar?
No.
That was quick.
I certainly don't either.
You can compare the coordinators.
Hold up, Will. I don't either. I think that the whole Lamar Jackson thing is what's driving Colin Kaepernick right now. And I think he's sitting there thirsty as hell, and Eric Reid is showing his thirst by saying this.
Dehydrated.
Yeah. This guy's 32, thinking he can do what a 22-year-old can do. It's not going to be pretty.
Listen, I like that he's sticking up for his homie, for one. For two, I don't think it's totally egregious to sit there and make the comparison. They are the same height. In stature and size, they are the same height. And as a matter of fact, his style of play was good enough for them to make it to a Super Bowl and play in it. I think the one thing that we also got to take into consideration.
Was he ever in the MVP race?
No.
Was he ever in a Pro Bowl? And I love Kaepernick.
Was he in a Pro Bowl?
No, he wasn't. I checked.
Well, here's what's interesting, right?
I'm asking because I know the answer.
Even with that being said, Greg Roman, Eric Reid was there when Roman was running that offense with Kaepernick in that Super Bowl run. So I don't think it's horrible to make the comparison.
I don't think Eric Reid was during the Super Bowl run, but go ahead.
He was there.
It's a fair comparison, but it's not a real comparison. And when I say it's a fair comparison, it's because you got Jim Harbaugh coached him in San Francisco, John Harbaugh's coaching Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. You have the same offensive coordinator in Greg Roman running a similar offense. Yep. But the comparison stopped there. Lamar Jackson is more dynamic with the ball running.
He's Devin Hester with an arm.
He's just so dynamic with the ball. Kaepernick doesn't have the type of juice. Kaepernick completes 6% of his passes. The NFL game has changed. His completion percentage will probably rise if he was given another opportunity. Just, you can't touch guys, you can't do this, you can't touch the quarterback. And so that's a little skewed, but the comparison, that's where it stops. Is you got the Harbaughs, you got Greg Roman. But as far as on the field, no.
Yeah, he's a dynamic runner, no doubt. Playing against Cap, seen it. But yeah, in terms of the comparison, it's not even close. Even going back to college, this was a Heisman winner, like legit. It's not even close. And to your point, though, you mentioned earlier, this all could have been done. He would have been a Baltimore Raven had his girl not said anything about Bisciotti. I believe that was a legit chance. He could have been a Raven already. We'd have been talking about these workouts, anything that's going on. He would have had a chance had that not happened. The owner getting dissed. And you mentioned, too, is that if one owner got this, there's a good chance that everyone's going to have his back as well, too. Like, they don't want to deal with that. So
I still don't think it's horrible to make the comparison, especially if
it's not horrible.
If he's intimate to the situation. We don't have to go to the lengths of trying to say they're exactly alike. I mean, when you make comparisons, it doesn't mean that you're exactly
they're both
alike.
black quarterbacks that are
you can have a Mercedes-Benz that's a S-Class and it be a 63, a 55, a 500, and there's that lowly 250. All right?
That's no comparison.
There are comparisons
now,
because
we talking
he's saying he's Lamar before Lamar. He's not Lamar before Lamar. Lamar's his own entity. And the year before that, he had Marty Mornhinweg as his coach, who had Michael Vick in Philly. So he had both of those. He's a combine of a lot of people.
LeVar, at Ball State, I played with a middle linebacker named Greg Garnicki. He was three-time MAC Defensive Player of the Year.
Reminded him of you.
But I didn't play inside
I would
backer.
never compare him to you.
Why not?
Because he wasn't on your level.
Why?
And
who did he remind you of, though?
And I'm just telling you, he's not on Lamar's level, just in terms of wiggle. Again, in making guys miss. Cap was a great straight line runner. But in terms of wiggle and making, that would be like saying, you know what? Jim Brown reminds me of Barry Sanders. No, he don't. They both play running back. But in terms of making you miss, Barry Sanders on a whole different level.
It's not
Lamar
the same.
Jackson's on a whole different level.
That's not the same.
That's the separation.
That's not the same thing.
But it's not reminders. He's saying Lamar. He's saying that Cap was Lamar before Lamar, when that's not the case.
No, I wouldn't say that that's the case, and I don't think that is what he's saying. I just think that he's making...
No, that's what he's saying.
He's making a comparison that he's got a good arm, that he's tall like Lamar.
He was Lamar
and he's mobile.
You can't. You're going to skip over the one part.
He also says he can still throw the ball.
And you're going to skip over that one.
Right here. That's because they homies, and he said he was Lamar before Lamar doesn't mean that he was exactly
That's
what
the
Lamar
whole
is.
thing motivating all of this, though. And Will has knocked it out of the park in terms of Cap is like, damn, I could have been in Baltimore. That could be me. Instead,
they said RG3 instead.
Yes.
Right. But that is Eric Reed pushing the envelope because he has a platform.
That's what partners do. That's what you do. But the comparison.
So you like him comparing him to Lamar?
Yes, I do. Whether it's legit or not, there are enough connecting factors for him to legitimately make the comparison.
No, the comparison is good, but to say he's Lamar before Lamar, I disagree wholeheartedly. I agree with the comparison, right? Running style quarterback, same OC.
There you go.
Look, I went over to LeVar's house a couple of weeks ago, and him and his wife cooked, and LeVar made fried chicken. I would not compare it to Popeyes.
That's fair. That is fair.
You can compare it, but you can't say
you can compare it because it's chicken.
Before Popeyes.
You can say it's
I would not compare
chicken.
It. Because
and
I fried it.
The man's cooking all like
Popeyes uses seasoning. LeVar doesn't.
That's true.
It's both chicken, it's both fried.
I guess apparently.
And let me guess, he gave you ketchup.
I thought the chicken was amazing, and I hope Whitlock chokes on one if I'm making some more.
Hey, at least he invited you over the crib.
That's right. He ain't getting no more of my wings.
No, am I right or wrong? Is this, I don't know. Help me out.
I'm with you. Listen, my main problem is that he's putting way too much unnecessary pressure on Kaepernick. Going to this workout this weekend, he ain't no Lamar Jackson. Why are you putting that even in the air? So now he has to perform amazingly to even probably get an opportunity. So it's well-intentions by Eric Reed. That's his homeboy. But like you always say, with well-intentions is a pathway where?
The road to hell is paved.
Hey, you said 4.65. So is he gonna have to run a 4.5 now if you're comparing him to Lamar? Lamar 4.3.
At least it's an opportunity. At the end of the day, it's an opportunity. They came out, the agent mentioned, hey, we're not getting anything, and Roger was like, okay, let me set this up, and you just got to take it. It's an opportunity.
You're off topic, Will, but good job. TJ Houshmandzadeh and Rick Bucher are back. Time for the most fearless discussion of the day. All right, Hall of Fame quarterback Steve Young, he ain't scared. He's all in on the Lamar Jackson debate. Yesterday, the ESPN broadcaster doubled down on his belief that Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson is ahead of Lamar Jackson as a pro quarterback. Young said, the Ravens have gone all in on Lamar Jackson, the college player, playing the pistol, and they're going to run him, and they're going to do the things they did at Louisville. But Young once again cautioned that he doesn't believe a college-style offense can be sustained in the NFL. He says it exposes the quarterback too much. I tend to agree with Young, but not as passionately as I did a month ago. What Young might be underestimating is how much the NFL has changed in the last few years. When I was a young kid, we made fun of Steelers running back Franco Harris because he stepped out of bounds to avoid contact. Football used to be hyper-masculine. Guys who avoided contact were looked down upon and ridiculed, even quarterbacks. Quarterbacks didn't slide the way they do now. NFL rules now prohibit defenders from leading with the crown of the helmet. The helmet is no longer a weapon. The game is far less violent and dangerous. Playing quarterback has never been easier. The rules let wide receivers run free off the line of scrimmage and roam across the middle without fear. Receivers are far more likely to be right where they're supposed to be than in the good old days. It's much more difficult to redirect a passing route. That's why completion percentages for quarterbacks has skyrocketed. Pass plays now look exactly like they're drawn up. Steve Young thinks it's just a matter of time before an NFL linebacker or safety catches Lamar Jackson and knocks him into the middle of next week. 7 concussions forced Steve Young to retire from football in 1999. His concern for Lamar Jackson comes from a very good place. I agree with Young, but when I watch Lamar play, I'm always amazed with how smart he runs the football. He dips out of bounds like Franco. He slides and dives to the ground before major contact. He's not Cam Newton running through the defensive jungle looking for a defensive back to truck. NFL defenses are more like a zoo than a jungle these days. The lions, tigers, bears, alligators, elephants, snakes are restrained by fences and yellow flags. You generally have to do something extremely foolish to get killed at the zoo. So far, Lamar is nobody's fool. All right, guys, LeVar, get us rolling. Think safer NFL means running quarterbacks like Lamar can have long-term success.
No, because I don't think that the rules totally put those lion, tigers, and bears behind cages. I really don't. I think it's geared towards saving someone on a blindside block. It's geared towards saving a receiver being defenseless. It's geared towards chop blocking, different things like that. But a runner is a runner, and a runner will still get hit in this National Football League. If you think for 2 seconds you're going to go out in that national park in the Serengeti and something ain't going to run across and scoop you up, then you're already a dead man walking. So you cannot go into this thinking that, because of these new rules that govern the football league, and it's a much safer and much more governed game than what it was back when Franco and those guys played, that you're not going to get hit the way RG3 got hit by Haloti Ngata. That still exists. So when I look at what Steve Young has said, it still has yet to work. I mean, we're talking about running mobile quarterbacks. McNabb and Russell Wilson really are the only ones, Russell Wilson being the only one that's made it to the Super Bowl twice. So I'm looking at it more so in sustained success to make it to the big game. Can you win the big game with this style of offense? So that's why I think that it's safe for Steve Young to live in the argument that he's living in right now.
Well, it really depends on what is your definition of long-term success. Is it 5 years? Is it 6 years? Is it 10?
How far are you going?
You just don't know. Now, when you say Russell Wilson, Donovan McNabb, the only guys getting to the Super Bowl and Russell Wilson to win one, this experiment of the running quarterback is fairly new as far as teams embracing it. We're going to embrace this. So the case study, so to speak, isn't there because this is a fairly new type of offense. And I'm going to disagree with Steve Young because he was once a running quarterback that evolved into a passing quarterback. Lamar Jackson is going to evolve. He's going to mature, and he won't run the ball as much, but his best asset is I can get out in the open field and create plays and yards for my team. I'm going to use that. As he matures and evolves as a player, I'm sure he'll pull back a little bit. Until then, the Ravens have gone all in with this. You applaud them for it. And when other teams are going to do this, and once they evolve, the offense will evolve as well.
I covered the 49ers when they were making the transition from Joe Montana to Steve Young. Steve Young was guilted into becoming Joe Montana. It was all about, now you got to stop that running stuff. He was Lamar Jackson at that point. I mean, anytime he was going to break away, that's when he was his most dangerous. Staying in the pocket, standing in the pocket, and delivering was what he had to prove that he could do. So I have to believe that some of that mindset is still there about what makes a great quarterback. The other part is we're talking about this because of what Lamar Jackson has done so far this season. They have played against some of the worst rushing defenses that you could possibly imagine, which is why the numbers are there. We saw the highlights from the Bengals runs just now. They've played them twice. They're the worst rushing defense in the league. They've played 3 of the 5 worst rushing defenses. So some of this, I would suggest, is because of who they've played. They haven't played any great rushing defenses. Are the Ravens not simply taking advantage of who they're playing against and allow Lamar to evolve into more of a pocket passer when he needs to be? I've seen enough of what he's done from the pocket to think that he has the capability.
I mean, he beat New England. How many rushing yards is he having against?
I just think you don't have to have a great rushing defense to have one dude that's out there that has you pinpointed on one play. And that's what we're talking about. The reality here is when it's a running quarterback, it takes one player on one down to get that one hit.
Thus far, has he shown you that I'm slippery enough? I'm going to try. We know you're going to get hit.
This is the league.
Now, how often?
The league.
RG3, he was diving. He wasn't sliding. He was diving head first when Haloti Nada hit him. Diving head first, and he clipped his leg. I remember that play.
He was on the sideline.
And so
he ran him downfield.
But RG3,
knocked his leg
as fast as he is straight ahead, it's what we talked about. They don't have that lateral movement and that wiggle like Lamar Jackson has. It's just different.
Here's what I think is different, LeVar, is that the mindset of all NFL players now, when they're making all this money, is safety. It's like, I want to go home. I want to keep collecting this check. I don't think in y'all's day that was as pervasive as a mentality as it is today. And so when I agree. So when I watch Lamar play, he's running the football as smartly as I've seen any quarterback do it. I think he's always thinking safety.
But it's still the running part. He's got to run. So that spin move worked for him. That reverse spin move worked for him. It takes one game, one time, one player.
What says he's standing in the pocket and the left tackle misses the block? He can get hit in the pocket. That's even worse because you don't even know what's coming.
I understand that too, but I'm just saying, once you get out to where all of
I don't have the stats on this, and I wish I did. Maybe we'll research it and talk about it tomorrow. But I watch a lot of football every Sunday. I just don't remember seeing very many. I can't call off the top of a quarterback getting concussed this year. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure, but it seemed like it used to happen a bit more often. When the NFL over these last 3 or 4 years, when they start moving the crown of the helmet and leading with the helmet and start flagging everybody for that softens the game. The way to concuss a guy is, generally speaking, with your helmet.
Can I let you know a secret? Can I let you in on a secret?
Go ahead. The way you
concuss a player is by breaking his ability to break his fall.
So you drill him into the ground.
So you take his head.
Mason Rudolph for sure had a concussion. That's what.
That's one. That's right.
Yeah.
But it's not the crown of the head. It's what's probably lessening the amount of concussions and frequency is their ability. They're getting flags every time they touch the quarterback.
Yes.
Well, no. If you fall on top of the quarterback, you get a flag.
That's where the concussions. If I was tackling TJ and I wanted to get TJ out of the game, I'm gonna take TJ's arms. Right? And I'm going to make sure he can't break his fall. Right. And I'm going to slam his head off of the ground. That is how you concuss guys on a consistent basis.
But I ain't letting that happen.
Right. But then there's that one time where he doesn't have a choice. And that's what I'm saying. With Lamar Jackson, there may be that one time.
Are the rules not, though? If you slam a guy like that, you get a flag and they're less likely to do it.
Guys,
I get it, but it could happen.
Guys don't want to, get penalty. You get a penalty now.
Yep.
It's 15 yards, and it's probably 30 grand.
20 G's.
Exactly.
So,
15, 20.
And I think the way the NFL is now is guys are looking out for other guys now. It's not like I'm trying to just tear your head off how it was when we played.
Well, then it's different because I was not looking out for you.
Right.
I wanted to get you.
There's so much money on the line, and it's a little fraternity, man.
I sure hope that isn't the case.
But don't you see in watching, again, this is more anecdotal than statistical, that the way guys are approaching sacks now, is it's almost like they're trying to grab them and lay them down because anything that's more violent than that is a flag and a suspension. You look at Vontaze Burfict is out of the league. You can't tell me that guys don't look at that and think, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want that reputation because that's going to hurt my team.
Man, you look at the safety that Aaron Donald had against Pittsburgh. He literally just pushed him down and just kept running through the end zone this past Sunday. He didn't even drive him to the ground, and he came free.
Right.
Look at the flag Gerald McCoy got this week on a delivery sack. And
Putrid.
But
that has to affect how you play.
That's what I'm saying. And so what I don't think Steve Young is thinking about, and I don't think you're thinking about, the game is a little easier to navigate.
Especially for quarterback.
And to protect your safety.
What you guys are talking about is different. I did not talk about in the pocket.
You're talking about running.
Once you jump out of that safe zone, you come out of that safe zone and you go into the Serengeti in that wild reserve, you're going to get hunted. And it takes one time. It takes one time.
How many times have you seen Lamar Jackson just get hit when you're like, ooh,
and
we haven't seen it.
That happens
one
from behind.
time.
But that's anybody, any play, in the pocket, out the pocket.
And that's why Steve Young is making the argument, because that could be anybody, any play.
But
once
that's
you're outside
also
of the
why, for a number of reasons, Baltimore has RG3 in that locker room and in that meeting room constantly telling this dude. And I watched Lamar. He's an exciting runner, but he also, he runs very smartly and protects himself. Steve Young may have to, and we may all have to adjust, because I'm telling you, I agreed with Steve Young. But I watched this dude play, and I watch how the NFL is, and they're building a path for the running quarterback to survive in the NFL a lot longer than previously said. And again, it's not, Steve Young had 7 concussions and had to retire from football. They are trying to remove concussions from football, and they've had some success at it. These quarterbacks may last longer than what we think. Cowboys are looking for answers after an up-and-down season that has them sitting at 5-4, tied for the division lead with Philadelphia. Now Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News says the team probably won't win more than 9 games this year. And looking at their schedule, he may have a point. With Dallas having to deal with some tough teams over the final 7 weeks, including New England, Buffalo, the Rams, and the Eagles. All right, the question here is, think the Cowboys win the NFC East? I vote no.
Yeah, you got to vote no. And I think that's the most sensible voting decision you can make. I mean, you look at the Eagles right now, they're evened up, and the Eagles have a tough next 2 weeks going against the Patriots and the Seahawks. But after that, they have the Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, then with the Cowboys, and then the Giants. Whereas you're looking at this Dallas team, they had the Patriots, Bills, Bears, Rams, Eagles, and that's consecutive games back to back to back. That's a murderous road for a team to have to try to win games, and I just don't see – I haven't seen the consistency from this team that would say they have what it takes to run through that entire part of their schedule to win the NFC East.
I disagree. I hear what you're saying, but you talk about teams, forget the remaining schedule. Internally, I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. And then on the field, when I see them play, they're up and down just like the Dallas Cowboys. And so when I'm watching both teams, it's a matter of who do I trust more. And quite frankly, I trust Dak Prescott more than I trust Carson Wentz and that offense and that team, because they don't know, we don't even know if guys in that team are really going to play for him and give everything that they have from week to week. What I do know about the Dallas Cowboys, they enjoy Dak Prescott. They're going to give everything they got. I don't care what the remaining schedule looks like. I trust the Dallas Cowboys more.
I'm going with the Cowboys as well. And for me, you look at the Cowboys schedule, the toughest game they have is the Patriots. Well, the Eagles have to play them this week, and then they have to follow that up and play the Seahawks. And if there is any teeter-totter on who you pick, the Cowboys by far and away have the best team. Their team is better. They have more team speed. Defensively, they're better than the Eagles.
They're better.
Quarterbacks, they're better than the Eagles. Running back, every position, they're better than the Eagles. And so if it's a toss-up, I take the better team.
Let me ask you this, TJ. At the beginning of the year, a lot of people were arguing the Eagles had the best roster in football. Injuries, or they were overhyped? Why?
Injuries. When you look at the Eagles, Deshaun Jackson opened up a lot for them. Deshaun Jackson gets hurt, they don't scare you down the field. Nelson Aguilar can run, but they don't use him in that fashion.
Is he going to catch it?
And so...
But it's
where do they scare you at? The Eagles don't scare
East.
you.
It's not the East teams that you have to concern
They have to play. They have to play each other. They play each other. That game will be paramount.
And Dallas has already beat them the first time.
They're going to beat them again.
And they may beat them again. But again, if you're looking at the level of difficulty of schedule, there has not been enough consistency. Outside of the East, they've
Both
been 1
teams are
and 4.
inconsistent.
I was going to
Yes,
say,
but
what about the Eagles, though?
The Eagles have the easier schedule.
Who says who?
Says who? The Patriots and the Seahawks.
But when somebody's
after,
been
after the
inconsistent,
Patriots and the Seahawks, you got
don't matter.
a 2-win team, a 2-win team, a 1-win team. The Cowboys and another 2-win team.
The Bills can't move the ball.
Come on, man.
The Bears can't move the ball. The Rams' offensive line is going to get destroyed by Dallas's defensive
8-win
front.
team,
Like,
6-win team, 4-win team, 5-win
don't let those
team.
wins
don't matter.
fool you.
It's
Don't
not a fool. Foolish is thinking that you're going to lose to a 2-win team, a 1-win team.
I'm gonna tell you, me and LeVar are on the same side, but I can argue the case better.
All right.
Please do then.
We don't win 5 minutes without mentioning Doug Peterson versus Jason Garrett. One team has a better proven championship
I
head
give you
coach.
that.
One team has Jason
I will
Garrett.
concede to that. However, when I look at
One
this,
team is gonna know what to do at the end of the game and not hand the ball to Ezekiel Elliott
Well, I do
and let
concede the fact that you are making a better point. That is a better point.
So go ahead now.
That is a better point.
you
argue
I
that, Greg.
concede to
Jennings.
that.
the Cowboys players will
Argue
hopefully
that.
overcome the lack of
You
coaching.
overcome coaching, for sure. That's what I have to hang my hat on. After that statement, yes, I concede to that argument. But when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, your points are irrelevant. They had the Lions at home. They lost. Now, this week, the Cowboys have the Lions on the road with the potential no Matt Stafford. So, I mean, their road, you can say their road is more challenging.
I did not include the Lions in that road of hard
Yeah, you're
games.
talking the Bills and the Bears
Patriots.
that's going to threaten them. The Bills and the Bears.
Bills and yes.
How are they going to score?
Yes, they have good enough defenses and potentially a good enough offense to be. Yes.
Because I think Greg is right. You've said it, but you disagree with Greg. Both teams are wildly inconsistent.
Yes.
Which organization has the best chance of not being inconsistent over these last 7 weeks of the season?
The Eagles.
I think it's Doug Peterson and the Eagles.
You can be inconsistent, but if you don't have the horses that can get out there and be inconsistent and still give you a chance, it doesn't matter.
They got horses in Philly.
Huh?
They got horses in Philly.
Yeah,
Clydesdales?
They got well.
they're all in gear that we're wearing, and they're not all on the field. That's the problem with Philly guys.
They're horses.
They're not on the field performing. And if I forget Doug Peterson, because I conceded to that. But let's go to the quarterbacks. Who do you trust more? You're telling me you trust Carson Wentz right now more than Dak Prescott?
I think that's a good point, Greg.
Yes or no?
No, answer the question.
Oh, no, I trust Dak.
You do?
I trust Dak more.
I don't.
I just don't
I knew
trust.
he was
I
gonna
don't
say
trust
that.
coaching behind it.
again, it's not. It had Carson Wentz has more upside than Dak.
No. Listen, forget the upside. We're talking about winning. Who do you trust to win?
And Dak Prescott,
But as well as
he has better players around him.
Dak played, they just lost.
Wasn't on
He
Dak,
played
though.
very
That was on
well.
Jason Garrett.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But
Count
that's,
on that.
You can't
y'all
run the
are
ball all
making-
game and you think you're going to
You
run it
guys
when it
are
matters?
making my point.
No,
I said I
that
trusted
makes
Dak.
his point.
I said I trusted Dak more, but even as well as Dak played, they still lost the game. That's the point. So why would we trust Dallas if they can't win? Well, Vikings are pretty good, but if they can't win, if they can't win with Dak playing at as high a level as he did against Minnesota, why would you expect them to continue to improve? Where now they're going to automatic or somehow?
Because that's
some
what
way
we do as
magically
athletes.
start
Hopefully
winning.
we improve.
Just continue to agree and you make his points.
Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating. Baker Mayfield. All right, Uncle. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about your big dummy of the day.
Oh, yeah, we talking about you.
Yeah, they are.
Hey, man, big dummy of the day go to the person that sat up here and tried to talk bad about some free chicken. Talking about it wasn't seasoned. You don't give a damn about seasoning. All you care about is whether or not it's dead. Feathers don't even bother you.
No,
That's true.
All right, then.
All right, before we go any further, we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield, who has a big game tonight
He liked the chicken, man.
versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not real hopeful about Baker having a big game against the Steelers tonight. I think the Steelers' defense is incredible. I expect Baker to get embarrassed. He and OBJ. All right, LeVar, any chance Baker and OBJ have a big game tonight?
there's a chance. small, but it's small. I don't see it happening. I see the Steelers doing that. I am a homer.
Yeah, you're a Pittsburgh
but
homer.
I'm not biased in this. I do
All right, Uncle Jimmy, any chance OBJ and Baker have a big game?
Look, man, let me just start off by saying Mike Tomlin is a man after my own heart. He's a good, God-fearing man.
Good man.
Just like me. Mm-hmm. And we don't tolerate bad kids.
That's right.
Look here, man. The Bible say, spare the rod, you spoil the child.
That child.
That's true.
Now, tonight, children,
preach.
Let me tell you something. Mike Tomlin shall not spare the rod.
Thou shalt not.
On them spoiled-ass kids in Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
Loose that belt.
Look here, man. Let's look at it now. Little Le'Veon Bell. His little bad ass want to smoke weed in the house. Thought he was grown. What'd Mike do? Threw his ass out.
Spanking.
Antonio Brown, just bad for no reason. He what old people call just unearthly good.
Earthly.
Ran away from home. Hey, authorities called Mike Tomlin talking about, we found your boy in Oakland. Mike Tomlinson said,
keep
his ass. And then there's big baby Ben Roethlisberger.
Big baby.
Ain't nothing wrong with Ben, he ain't hurt. Mike Tomlinson got his ass in timeout. See, Mike Tomlin is Furious Styles from Boys in the Hood.
Oh, wow.
See, the Steelers is that one family in the ghetto that actually got a daddy. See, the only difference is Mike Tomlin will beat your ass and then eat a pork chop afterward. Mark my words, watch tonight. He gonna tell Baker, go over there and get me a switch. Baker gonna roll his eyes, and y'all know that don't play in the back family. Mike Tomlin gonna say, yeah! Chop his ass in the throat. He gonna like, as soon as he do that, Tomlinson gonna be like, ha! You like getting black coaches fired, don't you? You think it's a game, huh? Come on here. And the whole time, that's when Odell Beckham Jr. gonna be acting like a little girl. I ain't did nothing. And hey, that's when Mike Tomlin be like, that's right. Your ass ain't did nothing. You're making $90 million. Ain't catching nothing.
Never
Tell you what, you can go out there with another watch on again if you want to.
Bringing back memories.
And then it start getting good to Mike now. He running up and down the sideline with a Hot Wheel chat. What's that coach's name?
Freddie Kitchens.
He run around chasing Freddie Kitchens talking about, with a Hot Wheel track, talking about, you want some too? You want some too? At the end of this game tonight, y'all mark my words. Look here, man. The whole Cleveland Browns team gonna be sitting talking about, Mike Tomlin say, shut your ass up before I give you something to cry for. See? It's that time, y'all. It ain't gonna be pretty.
Okay. All right,
we all been there.
Let me get to my approval rating before Uncle Jimmy gets carried away with that belt.
Yeah, I'm scared.
I've got Baker Mayfield
didn't it?
Yes, it
at
did.
role player status. I move him up 6 points in job performance. He's won his last game. He's starting to play a little better. I got him up to a 12. Everything else stays the same. 62 role player.
I got my scout team, coach, and the reality, he, 7 for his job performance. And all-time great because he did well in college. I'm going to give him that 10, but character, 8. I still need to see more. He's authentic, though, so I'm going to give him a 20 on authentic. So he's got 45.
A 45, wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, the internet is closer to you than me. The internet has Baker Mayfield as a dumpster fire headed into this big Thursday night football clash, and 62% of the voters